Those of you who've been fans of our channel for a while know that we are incredibly frugal, and we like to find ways to reuse old things that are just laying around the garage, or that you can maybe find for free off of Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, places like that. So today, I want to show you one of my favorite ways to make a super cheap but super effective bee swarm trap. Hello there, everybody. So I figured today I would share one of my favorite ways of making really cheap swarm traps. Those of you who are familiar with my channel may have already seen this other video that I have with 8 cheap or free ways to catch swarms. And I try to show both the example of the swarm traps as well as how they actually pay off actually being used. And so I showed some of those last season. You may have seen them, where we've caught swarms on some of the cheapest, easiest things that you can build. And so today I wanted to just focus specifically on something that I don't see as many people making. I know I posted about bucket traps. Bucket traps are really popular because, buckets are cheap and they work surprisingly well. You don't typically catch big swarms, but you do catch bees. This is another type of trap that I tend to make fairly often. And this one I decided to make a little bit differently. In truth, all you really need is one of these old styrofoam containers and just put a bunch of wax on the inside, on the roof of it, all around the inside so it smells like bees, and then cut yourself a hole in the front before you mount it. It's super light, it's easy to put up. You may want to check on it after a big windstorm or something, but if you strap it down really well, that's not a problem. But I decided to do something a little different this time. So while it looks like my typical sort of foam cooler swarm trap, which you can see it's a pretty good size here, but this time around, I decided I would plus it up a little bit. So if you can see here, what you'll notice is on the lid, all I really did is I took some hot glue. I got some small pieces of wood because I decided I was going to give the bees a little bit of a track to build on this time around. And so I've got some bits of wood there. But then I also had an old piece of a frame right here. And it's really just one of those top tracks. If you've ever built your own frames, you're familiar with one of these. I had some of these that were not really the right size for the equipment that I run. And so I thought, well, I've just got them sitting around in the garage, so why wouldn't I use this? Now, alternatively, you could just use a couple of other pieces of wood and just join them together in the middle to do what I did here. But then all I did is I had an old comb, and this one's drawn. You can see it's pretty dark. It definitely smells like brood. But this was a comb that was warped inside my hive. And so I cull those out because they're just a nuisance to deal with. Sometimes you'll get cheap foundation, which I've stopped buying. But you'll get some of that just kind of bows, and so it makes it hard for the bees to really work inside a box. But instead I thought, well, I may as well repurpose that. So I just cut it down so that it actually fits. And then I just put it inside of that top track, and then I just super glued that in. So you can see it holds nice and steady here. It's not going to go anywhere. It's already mostly built out, so if the bees move in, then it should be pretty easy for the queen just to go ahead and start doing something inside the box, which should help coax them in. Because one of the things you will see from time to time is with these sorts of simple DIY bee traps, sometimes the bees will tend to want to come to the outside and they'll just want to kind of cluster underneath, which again, if you're checking your traps regularly, really isn't a big deal. You just go out, you collect them, you don't even have any comb that you have to mess with moving between. But sometimes they'll do that just because maybe they don't like the size of the space, the ventilation of the space, they were attracted to the scent, but maybe they just didn't want to necessarily move in. So in this case, what I'm trying to do is actually coax the bees to physically move in. So there you have it. That's my latest little simple DIY swarm trap. From start to finish, this thing took me all of about 4 minutes. The longest part was heating up the glue gun. Now, we're gonna put this one out this season. We'll see if we catch some bees in it, and when I do, I'll post it to the YouTube channel so that you can see it. In the meantime, I'm gonna show you this clip of when I caught some bees on just another foam cooler trap that I had out last season. So as always, thanks for watching Mac Be Buzzin'. If you would, hit that like, subscribe button, or heart this video. It'll really go a long way to helping us out on our channel, and we'll keep making more content showing you how we DIY traps. I tend to believe that this provides a service. So you can see over here, this tree right here, that's what we're gonna check out. So this is just a perfectly mundane hackberry tree out here. And you can see over here, a neighbor said I could put this on her property. And there you can see the swarm. And I mentioned specifically, like, we're not necessarily looking for monster swarms. This definitely isn't a monster, but it is a football. And you can just see right here, those beautiful calm bees just glistening in the sun. There's the little hole that goes into that cooler. And this is the one. It's just a couple of styrofoam coolers up here with a little bit of wax and propolis on the inside. We're gonna see if we can get these girls in a box and take them home for the night. There's lots of tall grass down below here, so I'm going to try and keep them from getting in that as much as I'm able. So we're going to see if we can gently coax these girls into a box.